This is an MJA Inc. Investigations warning. This MJA podcast is rated E for explicit. Some details of a case and language used on this podcast might be upsetting to some of our listeners. Listeners' discretion is advised. And for those who are still with us, kick back and enjoy the show.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. There all the planes we flew, the things we've been through, that I was standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh. Something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. Oh, how can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you're gonna be with me for the last ride. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong, and what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. When brotherhood comes first and the line will never be crossed, the studs in on a rope and that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone. Oh, how can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you're gonna be with me for the last time. Let the light guide your way. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take, always leads you home. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you
No greater honor will ever be bestowed upon an investigator than when they are entrusted with an investigation into the death of a human being. MJA Inc. Investigations believes in these words. You can read past publications that MJA considers it an honor for us to work on the cases that we do. Welcome to our MJA podcast, the series Deep into the Woods, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. This is episode 20, part 2, 16 Missing Person Cases. My name is Mark, and I will be your host for tonight's show. And joining me later will be our co-host, Miss Callie, who is a profiler and researcher at MJA, and she is also a big part of our MJA think tank on a monthly basis. Miss Callie and I have worked a lot of years together concerning several cases. We are coming to you from our office in the Northeast Kingdom in the Adirondack Mountains located in Plattsburgh, New York. I look outside my kitchen window and I can see the Green Mountains in Vermont across the Lake Champlain. A very great view. On this episode, we will profile 8 missing males and 8 missing females. Case 1. Welcome to Heflin, Alabama. 18-year-old black male missing. On November 22, 1991, Hoover Jerome Morris vanished without a trace from Heflin, Alabama. The last time anyone saw Jerome was on the afternoon of November 22, 1991. The 18-year-old Morris went outside to talk to a woman in a red sports car. Jerome Morris knew the woman. This woman was someone their mother had told them to stay away from. He came back in and told his mother that she had been sent by their older brother to come and get him. So he went, saying he'd be back later. He never did come home. It turns out the brother hadn't sent anyone to come and get Jerome. The next day, the family went to police to report him as missing. Police spoke with the woman with whom Jerome was last seen, but had no evidence of anything suspicious that had occurred. Case 2. Welcome to Piedmont, Alabama. 29-year-old white female missing. On November 25, 1997, Karen Denise Steed disappeared from Piedmont, Alabama. Karen Denise Steed, the mother of a young daughter, was last seen by her husband as she left their home at 9:30 a.m. Mr. Steed said nothing unusual preceded his wife's disappearance. Mr. Steed just thought she had gone to her sister's house across town, but she never did come home. Her sister reported her missing 3 days later. On December 18, 1997, Steed's vehicle, a beige 1982 Ford Fairmount with Alabama license plates 11DW289, was located on I-20 eastbound. This was about a quarter of a mile west of Heflin, Alabama. The car was locked, and forensic scientists found no clues and no signs of a struggle. Steed's case is similar to the August 1990 disappearance of James Patrick Burrows of Piedmont. Burrows was last seen leaving the Steed's home on his motorcycle. The motorcycle was found about 2 years later in a railroad bed behind a lake near the Steed's home. Though no one has been arrested in Karen Steed's disappearance, the 29-year-old Steed may have disappeared because of what she knew about the other missing person cases. Case 3. Welcome to Wilcox, Arizona. 42-year-old white male missing. On January 13, 1980, Paul Braxton Fugate vanished from Wilcox, Arizona. On January 13, 1980, Park Ranger Paul Fugate, the only member of the permanent staff on duty that day, walked out of his office to check out a nature trail. Fugate left instructions with the only other person, a seasonal employee, that if he was not back at 16:30, to begin to shut down without him. The 42-year-old Fugate appeared to walk down the Charchuka National Monument entrance and was never seen again. No trace of the park ranger was ever found, despite an extensive search by the National Park Service, the Cochise County Sheriff's Department, the Bureau of Land Management, the U.S. Forest Service, the Southern Arizona Search and Rescue Association, Customs Patrol, the Border Patrol, and Fugate's many friends. All that was missing from Fugate's home were clothes he was wearing and his NPS keys. Foul play is highly possible. A park employee is said to have seen Fugate slump between two men in a pickup headed north around 4 p.m. The investigation has been declared as a homicide, which is still unsolved. Case 4. Welcome to Phoenix, Arizona. 31-year-old white female missing. On September 4th, 1977, Patsy Ann Ravens went missing from Phoenix, Arizona. Patsy was last seen at approximately 10:30 p.m. at her parents' home in the vicinity of 29th Avenue and Latham Street in Phoenix, Arizona. At around 5 a.m. on September 5th, 1977, her relatives woke to find Patsy and her vehicle missing. A missing persons report was filed on September 11, 1977. Ravens had been staying with her parents since July 9, 1977. 31-year-old Patsy Ravens was recently divorced, and her ex-husband had custody of their little boy. Raven's parents described their daughter as a quiet girl with no close friends who spent a lot of time in her room reading the Bible and thinking. In the year before her disappearance, she had become involved with the Mormon Church. On the night of the 31-year-old Ravens disappeared, Ravens used the family car to go to the Mesa Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Patsy Ravens returned home around 9:45 p.m., ate, and went to bed. Raven's mother told police that it was a normal night and that her daughter didn't mention anything odd that had happened. The family was planning a picnic the next day. Ravens left a note saying, "God's called me to do his work, so I must leave." Her mother told police that Ravens had talked about going to Utah to work, but none of her clothes was missing. Ravens took about $35 in cash, but left behind a $162 unemployment check. Patsy's vehicle, described as a white 1965 Rambler, was found later at Sunset Point Lookout, southbound I-17 at milepost marker 252 near Prescott, Arizona. In December 1977, Raven's purse was found near Sunset Point, north of Phoenix. The cash was missing, but the purse held medication and a temporary driver's license and car keys. Case 5. Welcome to San Francisco, California. 40-year-old white male missing. On March 15, 1983, Donald Bartow Newsom disappeared from San Francisco, California. The 40-year-old Bart Newsom was last seen on March 15, 1983 in San Francisco, California. The Salt Lake City man had previously lived for years in San Francisco with his family working in advertising. A month prior to his disappearance, he returned to the San Francisco area from Salt Lake City, Utah, to work in Burlington. Newsom's wife and 3 children stayed in Salt Lake City. They planned to join him after the school year had ended. Newsom was a Mormon and appeared devoted to his family. On the day of his disappearance, Newsom saw a friend about a job. That evening, Newsom's aunt, with whom he had been staying, called police when Newsom didn't come home. On March 19th, his vehicle, a 1979 Datsun 280Z, was involved in a hit-and-run accident near Dallas, Texas. The driver escaped from police, but the driver description did not match Newsom's. Foul play is suspected. Case 6. Welcome to Paradise, California. 28-year-old white female missing. On October 31st, 1983, Nancy Ann Penner went missing from Paradise, California. On Halloween night, 1983, Nancy Penner's friends invited her to celebrate. The 28-year-old Nancy Penner didn't show. Weeks later, her brother called to invite his sister Nancy to Thanksgiving. Her brother couldn't reach her. As Christmas neared with no word from Nancy Penner, a missing persons report was filed. The 28-year-old Penner was last seen at her residence in the 2000 block of Dean Road in Paradise, where she lived with her boyfriend and 2 children. Detectives found a bullet lodged in the bathroom cabinet at Nancy's residence. Foul play is possible. Case 7. Welcome to Boulder, Colorado. 25-year-old white male missing. On March 29, 1982, Douglas Edward Muir vanished without a trace from Boulder, Colorado. Douglas Muir was a resident of Boulder, Colorado. The 25-year-old Muir was a student at the University of Colorado, Boulder. Muir was an employee at King's Supers, a grocery store in the area. Douglas Muir left the Boulder area on March 26, 1982, and arrived in Las Vegas, Nevada on March 27, 1982. The 25-year-old Douglas Muir was last heard from on March 29, 1982, when he phoned his mother to let her know that he was out of funds and that he was returning to his residence in Boulder, Colorado. Douglas Muir never arrived home. In June 1983, his vehicle, a light model Datsun, was found in Mexico just over the border of California. The vehicle contained all of his possessions, including his medication. Case 8. 31-year-old white female missing. On February 18, 1985, Penny Lynn McLeese went missing from Aurora, Colorado. On February 18, 1985, at 8:59 a.m., Aurora police officers responded to the home of John and Penny McLeese on a report that Penny McLeese was missing. After an extensive investigation, the whereabouts of Penny McLeese has yet to be determined. She is missing under suspicious circumstances with marital problems and child custody issues. Penny previously lived in Texas. Over the years, police have developed leads into the disappearance of 31-year-old Penny McLeese, but have yet to determine her possible whereabouts. It is suspected that Penny McLeese may have met with foul play. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, we will profile 8 more missing person cases. Be back in a moment. Welcome back to our MJA podcast. This series, Deep into the Woods, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. This is Episode 20, Part 2, 16 Missing Person Cases. Case 9. Welcome to West Palm Beach, Florida. 31-year-old white male missing. On July 31st, 1987, Leonard James Collins vanished from West Palm Beach, Florida. Leonard Collins was last seen in West Palm Beach, Florida on July 31st, 1987. The 31-year-old was employed as a truck driver at the time. Towards the end of July of 1987, he told his estranged wife that he had gotten a job as a long-haul trucker hauling to Texas and Tennessee. Collins was to meet with another trucker about the job. Nothing was known about the trucking company. Case 10. 25-year-old white female missing. On May 26, 1978, Patricia Action went missing from Clearwater, Florida. Patricia Action was last seen at the Ramada Inn Lounge on US 19 North in Clearwater, Florida on May 26, 1978. The 25-year-old Action was there having a drink with co-workers. Patricia Action left the lounge around 11:30 p.m. in her 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle. Her parents reported her missing when she was not home the next morning. Patricia's car was found abandoned on US 19 in the parking lot of the Days Inn Motel in Tarpon Springs on June 1st, 1978. Blood was spattered on the front seat and inside the car. The blood type was type O. The keys to the car were not found. Patricia Action's shoes were in the car. Patricia Actions attended Stetson University in Sanford. While an undergraduate, she got married. At the time of her disappearance, a divorce was going on. Action was forced to drop out of the university because of an illness. The 25-year-old Action had returned to Tarpon Springs 6 weeks before her disappearance to stay with her parents. At the time Action's disappearance, she worked as a waitress at the Tree Inn in Clearwater, Florida. The 25-year-old Patricia Action has not been seen or heard from since. Foul play is suspected. Case 11. Welcome to Augusta, Georgia. 40-year-old black male missing. On December 4th, 1994, Judson Lee Fielding went missing from Augusta, Georgia. On the afternoon of December 4th, 1994, Judson Fielding left his mother's residence where he was staying after a 2-year prison term. The 40-year-old Fielding was going to visit his 4 children in their Delta Manor home. Fielding has not been seen or heard from again. The ex-Marine was finally pulling himself out of a downward spiral of drugs in prison when he disappeared. The victim's mother thinks he was killed to prevent him from testifying in an impending trial against some drug dealers. Foul play is suspected. Case 12. Welcome to Rockdale County, Georgia. 39-year-old white female missing. On January 29, 1991, Deborah Jean McNeely vanished without a trace from Rockdale County, Georgia. McNeely disappeared from Rockdale County, Georgia on January 29, 1991, sometime between 7:30 a.m. and 4:45 p.m., the times when her children left for and returned from school. The back door of the residence was kicked open and a window pane in the door from the garage was broken. Blood was found inside the house and in the carport. Nothing was taken from the home. A white pickup truck was seen in the area during this period. The 39-year-old McNeely's automobile, a 1985 tan and black Chevrolet S10 Blazer, was found the next day in DeKalb County behind Decatur High School. Blood was found inside the vehicle. The keys were left in the vehicle and cash was placed in plain view in what investigators believe was an effort to bait the vehicle for a potential thief. Investigators believe that at least two people were involved in the 39-year-old McNeely's abduction. Deborah Jean McNeely was living with her two sons, and they had been separated from her husband since November of 1989. The 39-year-old McNeely and her husband was scheduled to finalize their divorce and deposition of property at 5 p.m. the day she disappeared. Case 13. Welcome to Chicago, Illinois. 33-year-old black male missing. On December 1st, 1996, Kenneth Sanders vanished from Chicago, Illinois. Sanders was last seen on that day in Chicago. The 33-year-old Sanders lived with his mother, who reported him missing on December 4th, 1996, when he failed to return home. Sanders is a real estate agent and owns the Black Man Group Realty. Police found Sanders' 1995 Nissan sports utility van in the 1000 block of North Springfield within a week after he was reported missing. Investigators discovered that Sanders owned property at the Springfield location and was attempting to sell it at the time of his disappearance. It was also discovered that on December 2nd, 1996, Sanders used his cellular telephone to contact and speak with a business associate. Sanders has done nothing illegal, and there is no reason to suspect foul play. Family members are concerned about his welfare and want to know if he is well. Case 14. Welcome to Chicago, Illinois. 24-year-old white female missing. On February 14, 1984, Marcy Jo Andrews went missing from Chicago, Illinois. Marcy Jo Andrews and two other women went to Casey Nowicki's apartment at 2558 West Iowa Street in Chicago. Andrews met Nowicki for the first time that day. After some time there, Nowicki alleged offered to drive the girls home. On the way home, they were involved in a car accident in which Andrews' ankle was injured. Nowicki said he would take Andrews to the hospital if the other two women would get the car towed. Instead of taking Andrews to the hospital, Nowicki took her back to his apartment where he drugged and sexually assaulted her. Nowicki allegedly called a friend to help him put the body in the trunk of his mother's car. A friend of Nowicki's testified that he saw Andrews' body rolled in a carpet. Nowicki was convicted of her homicide in July of 2005. Andrews' body has never been found. But one of the targeted search areas for the 24-year-old Andrews is located in a northern Indiana county where Nowicki's family owned an old farmhouse. Case 15. Welcome to Sioux City, Iowa. 34-year-old white male missing. On October 5th, 1996, Kenneth William Harker vanished from Sioux City, Iowa. The 34-year-old Harker suffered from a head injury after an auto accident several years earlier that has left him disabled. Harker was last seen in Sioux City, Iowa on or about October 5th, 1996. On this date, Harker's 1977 white Chevrolet Suburban was tagged as an abandoned vehicle by the Plymouth County Sheriff's Office while parked on a gravel road, K-42. Its doors were open, the tires were flat, and it was out of gas. A search of Harker's residence on Colon Street turned up no clues as to his whereabouts. Harker's mother reported him missing on October 9, 1996. His dog was left at his house and it hadn't been fed in 4 to 5 days, and he had left behind his medication. Harker's family are convinced Kenny didn't get disoriented and wander off and died due to exposure because someone out mushroom hunting or a farmer or another individual would have found him by now. Kenny's close attachment to friends and family kept him from wanting to live elsewhere. Foul play is suspected. Case 16. Welcome to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. 32-year-old black female missing. On April 12, 1981, Naomi Wilson vanished from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Wilson was last seen on April 12 at her home at 1618 13th Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The 32-year-old Wilson's boyfriend of 3 years stated that the day started out normally. Although Naomi usually attended church, she did not on that day. The boyfriend attended noon services and returned to Naomi's home during the mid-afternoon. Shortly after, he and Naomi left within a few minutes of each other about 4 p.m. The boyfriend was going to his mother's house and Naomi was going to get gasoline for her car and to visit a woman she worked with at the corporate plant. The boyfriend reported passing the 32-year-old Wilson's car about an hour later on the street, and that was the last time that he saw her. However, the friend she was to visit reported that Naomi never showed up. The boyfriend said when Naomi did not return home that night, he searched for her until 3 a.m. and had also searched with friends the following day. It wasn't until an employee at the corporate plant called to say that Naomi didn't show up for work that he finally called police to report that she was missing. Naomi Wilson's car, a 1978 white Ford Fairmount with license number DOY 622, was found on April 14, 1981 in a Kmart parking lot on 16th Avenue Southeast. Friends and law enforcement searched for the 32-year-old Wilson, including in a wooded area near Kmart, but no trace of Wilson was ever found. Naomi Wilson was described as friendly, level-headed, and very reliable person. divorced for 3 years, Wilson had acquired furniture, a car, and had bought a home the previous summer. At the time of her disappearance, she was continually buying things to fix up her home. Friends and family did not feel that she would have walked away from her life that she had worked so hard for. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, our very colorful co-host, Miss Callie, will be on the line. Be back in a moment. It's with great regret that MJA announces the retirement of Miss Callie from MJA. Miss Callie's years of service will be greatly missed. In some of our upcoming podcasts, you will hear her name as being the co-host to the show because those episodes were pre-recorded before she retired. We would like to introduce our new co-host, Olivia. Olivia has a college background in science and law. Her and I have been working together for years concerning one certain case. Olivia is an excellent researcher. Olivia also wrote a report concerning our case in Louisiana by looking at the death room photos. By using science, Olivia proved that the death room had been staged. That report ended up getting published by the media in Louisiana and at least in 5 other states. It proves that our victim was murdered. You will enjoy Olivia's input to the cases our podcast will cover. Thank you, and be ready for our upcoming episodes. Welcome back to our MJ podcast. This is episode 20, part 2, 16 missing person cases. We have Olivia, our co-host, on the line. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well.
Okay, we're just going to jump right into the cases. And as in case 1, on November 22nd, 1991, Hoover Jerome Morris, an 18-year-old black male, went missing. Wouldn't you think the police would have put a better effort on the woman that was driving the sports car that picked him up?
The police did speak with her at one point, correct?
Right.
I would, what I find most interesting is the mother had an issue with her. I think the police should have asked the mother what the issue was with this woman and then further questioned her.
Okay. And why do you think this woman lied to Morris saying his brother wanted him?
I don't know. I don't know. It's so strange. She just seemed to appear, and it's someone that he knew, apparently.
Right.
But
Right.
she might be part of the disappearance. That's what I'm thinking. She was just saying the brother wanted to see him just to get him into her car.
Right. Right. Okay, the woman and the 18-year-old Morris knew each other. Isn't that just more motive and justifications for a surveillance team or a wiretap?
Yeah, I would think so. Yes. Yes.
And Olivia, do you find it odd that there is no explanation as when Morris and the woman parted ways?
Yes. Yeah, I think she has, she plays a part in this disappearance.
And police spoke with the woman but had no evidence that anything suspicious had occurred. Now, this is 1991. So, how hard do you think the police went at her for answers?
Not very. Did they have DNA testing in 91? I believe they did. Correct?
Yes, they did.
I would have searched her whole car. Beyond questioning her, I would have done searches in her car.
Okay. And do you think that this unnamed female has anything to do with Hoover Jerome Morris's disappearance?
Yes, I do.
And, as in case 2, on November 25th, 1997, Karen Denise Steed disappeared from Piedmont, Alabama. Do you find it odd there is nothing on where the young daughter was during this time?
Yes. Yeah. Usually, how old was the daughter?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. It didn't say, and during all this that was going on, it never said where she was at the time. And I just...
Because if she was young, you would think she would be near the mother.
Well, near the mother or near, the father.
The father, yeah.
And see, that wasn't explained. And do you believe her husband when he said nothing unusual happened on the day that Karen went missing?
No. I'm kind of on the fence with him.
Okay. And why do you think her husband, Mr. Steed, didn't report his wife missing?
I'm going to just throw this out there because he may have had a part in her disappearance.
Well, yeah, I found it odd that...
Usually, I mean, if your husband or your wife is missing,
yeah,
you'd report that right away,
Okay. And wouldn't you think the police would have thought something was wrong when Karen Steed's sister reported her missing 3 days later instead of the husband?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. The husband is a big question here to this disappearance.
And on December 18th, 1997, Steed's vehicle was located on I-20 eastbound 26 miles from her home near Heflin, Alabama. Do you think she drove the car to that location, or do you think whoever made her go missing drove the vehicle there?
I think she was abducted, and I think whoever took her drove the vehicle there. That seems to be a pattern with these cases. When there's a car found, usually the person was abducted because they wouldn't just leave their car somewhere.
Okay. The forensic scientists found no clues in the vehicle and no signs of a struggle. This was in 1997 when DNA was in full swing. Do you believe nothing was found?
I'm going to just put this out here. I don't know the southern states at all. They all seem like most of these towns are very small, and there seems to be, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but an issue with law enforcement down there that they, how can I say this without saying something bad?
Remember, you
Everybody
say
knows.
you,
In other words, what I'm trying to say is everybody knows everybody.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
you follow what I'm saying?
yes.
Without
Yeah.
coming out and blaming anyone.
Okay, here.
So if, say, the husband knew people in law enforcement, you know, say something was found, and it's leaning towards the husband, they're not going to say anything.
Okay,
I
so
think that answers that question.
in your opinion, do you think police is holding back information?
Yes.
And here's a good one for you. In August 1990, James Patrick Burroughs of Piedmont, Alabama, went missing after leaving the Steeds home on his motorcycle. Do you think the cases are related?
Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And Burroughs' motorcycle was found about 2 years later in a railroad bed behind a lake near the Steeds' home. Wouldn't you think the police would zero in on the Steeds?
Now, she was already gone, right?
No, she was, at this time, she was still around. She came up missing
But she was
97.
still around.
Right.
Could it... Who was this guy? Was he, this James Patrick Burroughs, was he a relation to them?
He's
no?
just a friend. He was over here visiting.
Maybe there was something going on between him and her.
Okay.
Husband found out.
And the 29-year-old Karen Steed may have disappeared because of what she knew about other missing person cases. Do you believe she left on her own because of what she knew, or do you think the person involved in the Burroughs disappearance took Steed?
I don't think she would leave on her own. She had a child. Nobody leaves their children. You know, some do, but I think the person, these two cases are connected.
Okay. And as in case 3, on January 13th, 1980, park ranger Paul Braxton Fugate vanished from Wilcox, Arizona. Do you think on this day he walked out of his office to check out a nature trail? Why do you think he done that when he was a park ranger?
Okay, what is a nature trail?
Nature trails, like, you know, okay, us, we call them mountain trails, okay, but a nature trail is usually pretty flat and stuff like that, and it's not like Vermont or New Hampshire.
Okay.
So him being a park ranger, he's familiar with the park. So
Right.
why do you think he
Maybe,
told?
you know, maybe he just, that's part of his routine. He checks the trails out during the day to see, you know, if, I don't know, do people wander onto these trails, or what is it, park ranger? It's like,
Yeah, it's
in
a
a
state
park, right?
Yeah, state park. Yeah.
maybe he saw something,
Okay.
or it was just his routine, you know, to check out the trails when he starts his shift.
Okay. And why do you think he told the seasonal employee, if he wasn't back around closing time, to shut down the office without him?
That makes me think that he saw something on the trails, or he was privy to some information that something was going on one of these trails.
Okay, if Fugate was going to check a nature trail, why do you think he walked towards the National Monument Park entrance and was never seen again?
Is this a different trail than a nature trail? I'm not familiar with these parks.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying. He tells the seasoned employee he's going to check out this nature trail.
Nature trail, but he went a different way?
Yes, he went to the entrance. for some reason. So
And
you
then-
might be right. He might have saw something.
I think he saw something.
Yeah. And why do you think no trace of the park ranger was ever found despite extensive searches by 7 government agencies and his many friends?
I don't know. It depends on how vast this area is, how big it is. If it's like, I don't know, this is Arizona. I'm thinking of the Grand Canyon. He could have fallen off a trail. I don't know if it's like, if it drops down anyway, and there's a deep drop like the Grand Canyon is.
Okay.
I don't know these areas. That's why I'm.
Okay. And a park employee is said to have seen Fugate slump between 2 men and a pickup truck headed north around 4 p.m. Do you think it's odd there is no description of the truck ever mentioned or what the 2 men might have looked like?
Yeah, because you would think that they would get the description of the truck.
Right.
And tell law enforcement about it and what the 2 men looked like.
Okay. And this case sounds a lot like Cook County Park Ranger George Gerber. He left his job and never came back, for he is a suspected serial killer, and George Gerber isn't his real name. And as in Case 4, on September 4th, 1977, Patsy Ann Ravens went missing from Phoenix, Arizona. The 31-year-old Ravens went missing after 10:30 p.m., but before 5 a.m. with her vehicle. Why do you think she left at an odd hour when, by all reports, she was a homebody?
The first thing I find odd is the ex-husband has custody of your child. That's usually very rare. Usually the mother gets custody. So there must be a reason why he has custody of the child. It does mention that she was into religion.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute.
I'm just going to say it has something to do with this church.
Okay. And Patsy Ravens was recently divorced, and her ex-husband had custody of their little boy. Do you think that had anything to do with her disappearance?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
A year before her disappearance, she became deeply involved in the Mormon church. Do you think this has anything to do with her going missing?
Yes, because I'm finding that a lot of cases that we've spoken about, stuff I've seen on TV, some of these religions, and I don't comment on people's religions, whatever their beliefs are their beliefs, that some of them turn cult-like.
Yes.
And it messes with your brain. It kind of brainwashes you. So you can't get into that person's mind because you don't know what they're going to do.
Okay.
They just kind of go off and do their own thing. I think I've mentioned to you about a person I work with and the religion she's involved with, which is close to Scientology. And she's just kind of out there. I mean, you're supposed to be in work at a certain time. She comes in whenever she wants. Don't think anything of it because the church comes before it. If she's got an event at church, she'll just say, well, I have to leave because I have to do this for the church. Sometimes, like I'm saying, they're brainwashed and, you have no control over that mind.
Okay. On the night Ravens disappeared, she attended church and returned home around 9:45 p.m. She ate and went to bed. Do you think someone she knew at the church got her to meet them later in the night.
Yes.
And Ravens did leave a note saying, God calls me to do his work, so I must leave. Wouldn't you say there are a lot of red flags because none of her clothes were missing and she took $35 in cash but left a $162 unemployment check behind?
Once again, this is leaning kind of cult-like, where you allow your religion. I mean, we're all of different faiths. We all have different beliefs, but some are very intense. And like I said, they brainwash people that belong to these churches. And it's nothing against the Mormons or anything, but it's just what I've seen from cases that have been on TV, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I'm leaning towards this is a group that attends that church.
Yes. Yeah. And Patsy's vehicle was found later near Prescott, Arizona in December 1977. Raven's purse was found near Sun Point, north of Phoenix. The cash was missing, but her purse held her medication, a temporary driver's license, and car keys. So what does that tell you about this case?
It's just all over the place, this case, because you first think it's about, the church, the people that go to her church and her religion, and that she allowed it to take her over, but then the cash is missing. So it could have been just she was abducted on the way to where she was going. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. And as in Case 5, on March 15th, 1983, Donald Bartow Newsom disappeared from San Francisco, California. A month before Newsom disappeared, he had just moved back to San Francisco, California from Salt Lake City, Utah. Do you think this had anything to do with his disappearance?
Yeah, I think he was escaping something in Salt Lake.
Okay. And Newsom's wife and 3 children stayed in Salt Lake City, and they had planned to join him after the school year ended. Do you think Newsom might have been leading a double life during this time?
It's tough to say. Once again, we're going into a religion I know nothing about, but I haven't heard good things about it, so I'll just leave it at that. It's hard to tell with these people, like I said, you can't get into their minds. I don't know the religion at all. When I see this, and we're going to get into this later in the case, I just think of strange things that have happened in Utah. And there was something happened today, actually. In fact, it was on the news.
And Newsom was a Mormon and appeared devoted to his family, and on the day of his disappearance, Newsom was going to see a friend about a job. Do you think this friend could be involved in Newsom's disappearance?
It's possible, but it's just, I'm just finding these cases very confusing. You can't pinpoint. It's not like where there's a serial killer out there. I mean, these are all in different states.
Right.
They're all dying in different ways. Some are leaning towards a cult within the religion, in my personal opinion. I don't know this friend.
Yeah, they never mentioned the friend's name either. That's
Yeah.
Okay, Newsom was staying with his aunt, and when he didn't return home that evening, she called the police. Why do you think the aunt was so quick to call the police?
Maybe she saw that there was something wrong with him, this friend. Maybe she had, had a bad feeling about him. Sometimes you just get a sixth sense that something's not right, you know.
Okay.
I just don't understand the move.
Okay.
Was it because of his job?
Yeah, he moved.
moved there?
He moved back to San Francisco for a different.
Yeah, but why didn't he take his family with him? That's what's odd.
Because of the school year, they wanted to wait. But yeah, I found that kind of odd too, since they was Mormons. They usually don't split apart like that.
No.
And-
They're usually close together,
Right.
you know.
And on March 19th, 1983, do you think the person driving his vehicle that was involved in a hit and run in Dallas, Texas, is the person who took Newsom because the driver didn't match Newsom's description?
More than likely, yeah. Yeah, if he was in his vehicle, yes.
And as in case 6, on October 31st, 1983, 28-year-old Nancy Ann Penner went missing from Paradise, California. After family and friends hadn't heard from Penner since Halloween night, why do you think they waited till almost Christmas before a missing persons report was filed?
This is just bizarre. I don't know, why would you wait so long?
Yeah, and we're talking about her family, and
Yeah.
and see her
I mean,
her
if you
brother.
don't show up, you would question it, right?
Yeah, well, her brother. Now, so your brother tried to contact her so they could get together for Thanksgiving. He got no reply, and then
Right.
when it came Christmas time, I believe it was her mother or father tried to get a hold of her to make Christmas plans, and
Right.
they
But she
got
lived
no-
with her boyfriend and her kids, right?
Yeah, she had a boyfriend and 2 children.
Why didn't they reach out to the boyfriend either, too?
Yeah.
You know?
And do you think because they waited so long, they lost valuable time and possible evidence by waiting this long?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yes.
And the 20-year-old Penner was last seen at her residence where she lived with her boyfriend and 2 children. Do you think the boyfriend could be involved?
I'm definitely leaning towards him, especially with the, they found a bullet in her bathroom, right?
Right, we're going to get
Oh.
into that next. Yeah.
I'm leaning towards him,
Okay.
especially because he didn't speak up,
Right.
you know?
When searching Penner's home, detectives found a bullet lodged in the bathroom cabinet at Nancy Penner's residence. Do you find it odd? There is no explaining how the bullet got there or who might have done it.
Yes.
Yeah,
mean,
I thought that was
It
kind of
had to be somebody within the residence, because usually your bathroom, I mean, if it was a shooting outside your house, it would usually come in through your living room, because that's where, in the front, your bathroom is usually inside, you know, within your yard. I don't. That's how it is here, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, I found it kind of odd because
Yeah.
on the report, it doesn't say that after they found the bullet, they questioned him any further. It doesn't explain how the bullet got there. It just said they
Yeah.
found it. That's all, that's all it said. And I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, because you would think it would come within the residence, a bullet.
Yeah.
It had to
and-
be somebody in the residence shot a gun.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing is...
Because the boyfriend is still around, and the children, they weren't harmed.
Oh, no, they wasn't harmed. See, that's what I mean. And they had no contact with the family. And see, that's another thing. The family reported her missing, and he didn't. So I found that kind of
Yeah.
odd.
Did they ever find her?
No, she's still listed as missing.
Another one. I said,
All these cases are missing persons that hasn't been found.
uh,
And as in case 7, on March 29th, 1982, Douglas Edward Meir vanished without a trace from Boulder, Colorado. The 25-year-old Mir was a student at the University of Colorado, Boulder. Do you think someone from the college could be involved?
I don't think so because he. When was he found? Right, he was last heard of on the 29th.
Yeah.
And he left Boulder on the 26th. He went to Vegas, right?
Right. We're going to get into that. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly.
I'm not thinking it's anybody from the college. No.
Okay. And Mir was an employee at King Soopers grocery store in the area. Do you think it's possible someone he knew from the store was involved in his disappearance?
No, I don't think it's related to the area he lived in.
Okay. And on March 27, 1982, Douglas Mir arrived in Las Vegas, Nevada. Do you think he could have had someone with him on this road trip?
I think he kind of went on his own because he had, didn't he call his mom and say he was out of money?
Yeah, that's...
And he was going to return to his house.
Right.
Return to Boulder, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So he was apparently by himself. So something must have happened between Vegas and Boulder.
Well, I think it was kind of odd because he was a college student, and it doesn't mention if he had anybody with him or if he was alone. See, that's not mentioned. But I found it kind of odd, you know, being a college student, usually you would get together with a friend.
You would go
to
Vegas with friends. I've
Right.
been there 3 or 4 times, and it was with my ex. And you know, usually you go in a group. It's not a place you would go by yourself. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm a female, but I certainly wouldn't go there alone. But even, you know, it's not a place you would go to by yourself.
And on March 29th, 1982, the 25-year-old Douglas Mir called his mother to tell her he was headed home. Do you think something happened in Vegas that led to him going missing?
It could be possible that he got involved with gambling. He started gambling, ran out of money, and he borrowed. I think you can borrow from the casinos, if I'm not correct.
Some of them you can, yes, if you have a line of credit.
And there was no way to pay them back, and that might be why he's missing.
Okay. And it was over a year later, in June 1983, his vehicle was found in Mexico, just over the border of California. Why do you think it took over a year to find his vehicle?
If it's related to the casino and the people that run casinos, they're very good at, how do I say this, Mark, without getting in trouble?
You can say anything you want on this podcast.
I'm Italian, so they're very good at doing what they do. How's that?
Well, in other words, they're good at misdirection.
Misdirection, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when the vehicle was found, it contained all of his possessions, including his medications. So what does that tell you?
I'm going to revert to my prior answer. How's that?
Okay. And as in Case 8, on February 18th, 1985, Penny Lynn McLeese went missing from Aurora, Colorado. The 31-year-old female is missing under suspicious circumstances with marital problems and child custody issues. Do you think she left on her own because of these issues, or do you think her husband's involved?
Most cases like this, I hate to say it, it's if it's a bad divorce, it leans towards the spouse.
Okay. And McLeese used to live in Texas. A driver's license and a Social Security search was done. Nothing turned up. What does that say to you?
They couldn't find her through her, there's no driver's license?
Yeah, they ran her driver's license and social security number, and there was no activity after she went missing on her driver's license or social security number. I mean, she was never pulled over, issued a ticket. She was
a good driver.
well. What I'm saying is, there was no activity after she went missing, and so to me, that's
So it has to be the spouse.
And over the years, police have developed leads, but they are tight-lipped about the leads. Do you think it's because the guilty one lives in Aurora?
Yes, and once again, I don't believe Aurora is a large town. I think it's a small town. I think it's near Aspen. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think we're going like with the South. A lot of people know each other. The small towns, like here, I live in a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows the police, you know. And if you're in with the police, they can cover things up, except for now because we got a new sheriff in town that's taking care of things. But you know who that is. But yeah, I think he lives in Aurora.
Yeah, matter of fact, I had an old boss, and I was close to her sons. Well, one of them, when he was about 8 years old, he put on one of those fake noses and mustaches and had a cowboy hat on, and he had one of those plastic pistols. And so I put on the caption of the picture, "There's a new sheriff in town."
That's it. That's it. I'm living with the sheriff here.
Okay, let's take a short pause for the cause, and when we return, we will profile 8 more missing person cases. Be back in a moment. Welcome back to our MJA podcast. This series, Deep Into the Woods, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. This is episode 20, part 2, 16 Missing Person Cases. As in Case 9, on July 31st, 1987, 31-year-old Leonard James Collins vanished from West Palm Beach, Florida. The 31-year-old Collins was employed as a truck driver at the time. Do you think his job has anything to do with his disappearance?
No. Okay. I think he was in trouble outside his job with something else.
Okay. And at the end of July 1987, he was a long-haul trucker to Texas and Tennessee. Do you think this job offer was real, or do you think this was premeditated to kill Collins?
I don't think there was a job offer. I think he was lying. I think he had issues. He may have owed people money, and people were after him. I don't know who they would be, but I don't think he had another job.
Okay. And Collins went to meet with another trucker about this job. So, do we even know, once again, you're right on the money, if the job was real, or about the job that no one knew about, and it seems like no one knew the name of the trucking company. Do you find
right there, there's a red flag.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
No, something's not right there.
Yeah, you would think he would, say, well, this company offered me a job, and I'm going to go check it out.
You would say the name of the company.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what you would think,
He was involved in something else.
Okay. And as in case 10, on May 26, 1978, Patricia Action went missing from Clearwater, Florida. Patricia Action was last seen at the Ramada Inn Lounge on US 19 North in Clearwater on May 26, 1978. I remember the place where it was mainly for high rollers and B-grade movie stars. Do you think the crowd she was mixed up with made her disappear?
Right there is your answer. High rollers and celebrities. Don't like neither one of them.
Okay.
Don't trust them either.
The 25-year-old Action...
Wait, can I just add something?
Yeah. Yes.
B-grade movie stars. Sometimes they go into... A lot of these celebrities, you know, they actually, from what I've read, not all of them, I really don't care if they're listening to this and they get insulted because I do not like them. I do not follow any of them. I don't watch the award shows.
I don't either.
A lot of them start out their career in porn.
Yes, a lot of them has, yes. And through the years, a lot of...
And you'll never hear that, you know.
Well,
but,
through the years, a lot of them's been leaked out. Yeah.
Well, they're the most overpaid people I've ever seen, and most of them don't have talent. And probably not a college degree either. If they can count to 10, I'd be amazed. Okay, moving on.
Okay. The 25-year-old Action was there having a drink with co-workers, but a waitress came forward and said the 25-year-old Action was mingling about the crowd. In your opinion, could this have been how she met with foul play?
Yeah, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time and with the wrong people.
Okay.
She was just a student, correct?
I don't
She
see
was
nothing.
25.
It
says she attended Stetson University in
Right.
Stanford.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that is
She dropped out of the university because of illness. I'd like to know what her illness was.
Okay.
And
No,
she
it
was a
didn't
waitress.
explain that. Yeah,
And she was a waitress.
yeah. And Patricia Action left the lounge around 11:30 p.m. in her 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle. Isn't it hard for you to believe that no one saw her vehicle on US 19 after she left the lounge?
Is that a main road? I don't know.
Yes, matter of fact, US 19, when we're moving to Florida, that's the highway we'll be on, US 19. And it takes us all the way to my mother's house in Clearwater.
So it's a main road.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why would people be looking for her?
Well, I'm just saying it's odd.
Is that a car that would stand out?
Well, at that time, 69, yeah, it might have, because it was, like some of them was kind of sporty, like a Camaro or
Right.
whatever. But
Okay.
it just struck me odd that nobody seen a description of the vehicle on Highway 19, because even at 3 in the morning, Highway 19 is very busy. Because, matter of fact, Highway 19 has like 11, 12 Walmarts on the same highway. There's, like I said, there's restaurants, there's strip clubs, and it just struck me kind of odd that nobody saw nothing after she left the lounge. That's what struck me odd.
Did anybody see her leave? Did they see her leave with someone?
No, they said she was alone. And see, that's another thing.
She maybe took a card from somebody. You know, they all have business cards, these people.
Yeah.
Or she hooked up. She was going to hook up with them somewhere.
Okay, Patricia's car was found abandoned on US 19 in a parking lot at the Days Inn Motel in Tarpon Springs on June 1st, 1978. Why would you stay on US 19 when police patrol the area very hard?
All right, I'm gonna just spit it out here. It was a booty call that went bad.
Okay. And blood spatter was found on the front seat inside the car, and the blood was type O. So why haven't they said it is a match to her blood type?
Do we know what her blood type is?
They never see. That's another thing. They never said her blood type. So I thought it was kind of odd when they said.
What is with I don't know. I'm just having an issue, and like I've told you before, you know, he's in law enforcement. My whole family was in law enforcement. I don't have a problem with police, but there's a lot of sketchiness going on in the South with these police. I mean,
Yeah,
why would you hide something like that? She had parents that were looking for her, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They said, well, the blood they found in the car was type O, but they didn't go on and say, and that matched her blood type. See, that's what got me, you know? And
Yeah.
it's something that's in a report that's not explained, you know?
Right.
And, you know, it'd be different if they said, well, we found this blood spatter in the vehicle, it was type O, and it matched her blood type. But see, they didn't even go that far. And,
Right.
I
yeah,
just
I mean,
found that
just
odd.
say what kind of blood matched. I mean,
Right.
why hide stuff?
Yeah. And the keys to her car were not found. Do you think the killer kept them as a possible souvenir?
Usually they keep, I don't know if they would keep the keys. Usually they keep, like, a bra, panties, something like that. I don't think they would.
Well,
I think maybe the police have her keys. How's that?
well, now you got to remember now on Brianna Maitland's case in Vermont and Murray's case in New Hampshire, both of their keys were missing. So,
No.
so to me, yeah, that could be a signature of a souvenir, but it could also be they just threw them out in the woods somewhere, you know. Who
Yeah,
knows?
just got rid of them,
Yeah.
you know, so the car couldn't be entered by anybody.
Yeah, so that's why we always use metal detectors on searches, because you never know what you're going to come across. So,
I thought Maura took her keys with her,
well, that's what they say, but like I said, not.
but whoever
none's
took
been
her
found.
probably found the keys and got
Yeah.
rid of them.
Yeah, same way on Brianna.
Brianna, too?
Yeah, never found the keys, and her door, her driver's side door was open and all that, but they never located the keys. Okay, back to Patricia. Patricia, while an undergraduate, got married, and at the time of her disappearance, a divorce was ongoing. Do you think this had anything to do with her disappearance?
No, I'm leaning towards the company she was in at the lounge.
Okay. At the time of Action's disappearance, she worked as a waitress at the Copac Tree Inn in Clearwater, Florida. Is it possible that someone from that bar did something to Patricia Action?
It's always possible, but I'm going back to my prior answer. I think it's the company she was in at the lounge and the Ramada Inn.
Okay. And as in Case 11, on December 4th, 1994, Judson Lee Fielding went missing from Augusta, Georgia. Judson Fielding was living with his mother after a 2-year prison term. Do you think his time in prison is involved with him missing?
He was involved with drugs, wasn't he?
Well, see, that's another thing. It doesn't say what that 2-year prison sentence was for. And I just find that kind of odd also, you know. Not knowing...
I have a feeling it has to do with drugs.
Okay.
A drug dealer.
And the 40-year-old Fielding was going to visit his 4 children in their Delta Manor home, and there is no report of this visit. Why do you think that is?
He must have been... He must have been abducted on his way to go visit the children.
Yeah, I found it odd that his mother knew he was going to visit his kids, but there's no mention if he ever made it there. There's no mention that if he did make it there, what happened during the visit. So he has none of that information, and I just find that kind of odd. And So, yeah, this is like flipping a coin. Yeah, it could be somebody from his prison past. It could be from his past history. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go on this. And then, once again, he's a male. And, see, a lot of people don't realize this, but male missing persons, they don't get a lot of attention because there's so many females missing.
Right.
And
right.
they usually take top priority. I don't know why that is, but that's usually the way it works out.
Mm.
And after Fielding's visit with the children, he has not been seen or heard from since. In your investigation, would that be a good place to start?
Well, he never made it to visit his children, correct?
Well, say that once
I would start
again.
the investigation from him leaving his mom's house.
Okay.
And begin it there.
Okay. And
see if anybody saw anything weird, like anything at where are his children with the mother, I guess, right?
Right.
Something could have happened on the way, they may have. I think it's drug related, and I think if he was on drugs, whoever his supplier was, maybe knew he was out of jail, and he was following him. I don't know.
Okay, Fielding was pulling himself out of drugs and prisons. Do you think some of his homeboys was jealous and they got rid of him?
Yeah, it definitely has to do with it. It's not jealousy, it's drug related.
And the victim's mother thinks Fielding was killed to prevent him from testifying in an impending trial against some drug dealers. So why do you think law enforcement didn't protect him?
He was an ex-Marine. He was in the military. We all make mistakes. And he should have been protected. Where was he from? Georgia?
Yeah, Augusta, Georgia.
I don't want to bring this up, but if he was white, he would probably have been protected. There's a lot of racial stuff going on down in Georgia as we speak.
Yeah.
If you're involved with drugs, sometimes they don't,
They don't react to it accordingly.
They don't react to it, yeah.
Okay, as in case 12, on January 29th, 1991, Deborah Jean McNeely vanished without a trace from Rockdale County, Georgia. McNeely went missing sometime between 7:30 a.m. and 4:45 p.m., the times when her children left for and returned to from school. Wouldn't you think the perp would know her routine to carry out this crime during those hours?
It's her husband.
Okay. And the back door of the residence was kicked open and a window pane in the door of the garage was broken. Do you think this is the way the perp entered the house?
If it's who I think it more than likely might have been, he would probably have keys to the house. If it's the house that they lived in, they could have caused this damage to the house to make it look like
A break-in.
it was somebody else, a break-in. Yeah.
And blood was found in the house and in the carport. Why haven't the police explained whose blood it was?
That's a good question.
Yeah, see, once again, they mentioned in the report that they found this blood in the house and the carport, but they don't say who that blood belonged to.
Why? What is it with the South and all this hiding stuff?
Like I say,
Spit it out. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Up here, they tell you.
Yeah.
Blood was found and it's related to the victim or,
Right. Exactly. That's that's what I'm saying. See, a lot of these cases, for whatever reason, doesn't have a lot of information. And it just strikes me odd because they have all this interaction with different people and nobody says anything, or nobody says, well, go talk to so-and-so. He might know something, or she might know something. I mean, there's no dialogue in any of these reports that suggests that. So I just, found that kind of odd also. And it said the 39-year-old McNeely's vehicle was found the next day in DeKalb County behind Decatur High School. Why do you think the vehicle was dumped behind the high school?
Is this county, it's a different county than where she was from, correct?
Right, correct.
Is it far from?
No, it's the next county over.
I think it's just to throw people off. I think the husband took the car and put it back there behind the high school. I don't know what age her children were, but, in a roundabout way to prove a point, because, she was missing between the time she would pick up her children.
Yeah, she went missing sometime after her children went to school.
People that are sick, I'm finding, that are sick in the head and do stupid stuff. I mean, there's always a reasoning behind. They leave a trace.
Right.
Most people do. They always say, my father, he was a Fed, and he always said, criminals always go back to the crime.
Yeah.
Like the tree with the ribbon. Right. And I just had to put that out there. You know why, Mark?
Yeah.
I think this person was just trying to prove a point, a sick point, but I don't get it. Because it's a different county.
Okay. And it also says that blood was found in her vehicle. So why haven't police named who the blood belonged to?
Because it's more than likely from the husband. Once again, I don't know. Is it a small town? More than likely, everybody knows everybody, and they tend to want to keep things hush-hush, Okay. For what reason, I don't know.
Okay. The keys were left in her vehicle. There was cash in plain sight. Do you think the perp was trying to get someone to steal the car and they would get the blame for the missing female?
Yes. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And investigators believe that at least 2 people were involved in 39-year-old McNeely's abduction. Can you give us an idea why police might believe that?
Well, she was going through a divorce, correct? Yes.
On this one, no. Nothing about
They were
divorce.
scheduled to finalize their divorce and disposition of property at 5 p.m. the day she disappeared.
Oh, that has that on there?
Yeah, so I'm going to say the husband and the husband's attorney. How's that?
Okay. And okay, like I said, investigators believe at least 2 people was involved. And okay, what type of evidence would say to the police that there was more than one person? Is there anything you could think of?
2 different blood types.
Okay.
That they probably have. In this case, it would be 3 because she was involved, so that would be 3 different blood types. But if you're talking about the perps, that would be 2 different blood types.
Okay. And you are correct on that, on this last question on this case. It says the 39-year-old McNeely and her husband were finalizing their divorce.
And she disappeared on that day. Yeah. Yeah, that's how...
and do you think that's the reason why she disappeared?
Yeah. I hate to say attorney, but you just never know. It couldn't have been, maybe it wasn't the attorney, maybe the husband hired somebody, too, to do this, Yeah.
And as in case 13, on December 1st, 1996, 33-year-old Kenneth Sanders vanished from Chicago, Illinois. Sanders is a real estate agent and owns the Black Man Group Realty. Do you think this might be the reason why he was a target?
No. Just Chicago's bad.
Okay.
All around. It's always been bad.
Okay. And
no, I don't think they would target him for that. No.
Okay. Police found Sanders' utility van in the 1,000 block of North Springfield within a week after he was reported missing. Why do you think they never released what was found in the van?
Probably because it's an ongoing investigation. I lean towards the Chicago police, and you know why.
Right.
They, it's not like the South. They're used to crime all the time, but sometimes if it's an ongoing investigation, they don't release things until it's been completed.
Okay. And Sanders owned property at the Springfield location and was attempting to sell it at the time of his disappearance. Do you think someone fooled him as a buyer so they could meet at the location and someone done Sanders harm?
Chicago is a badass area. I can't explain what goes on in that town. I know he worked in the South Side. He was in the gang unit. But, he told me stuff that goes on around there. So, it's hard to say. It's hard. It could have been somebody that was jealous of him because of what he's accomplished. He's got a business and everything, It could have been a robbery gone bad. You don't know. It's hard to say.
Okay. And on December 2nd, 1996, Sanders used his cellular telephone to contact and speak with a business associate. Wouldn't you think the business associate would realize that something was wrong?
Yeah, I would think so, yes.
And police have said there is no reason to suspect foul play, but family members are concerned about his welfare. So, what do you think about this case, where the police said they can't find nothing about foul play, but the family members say they're totally opposite? This is out of his character. So, what do you think the balance is on that? How can the police say there's no foul play and the family says, well, hey, we've heard nothing from him, it ain't like him. He
was selling his property, correct?
Well, he had that location where he was at, yes, it was up for sale. But, he wasn't going out of business. No, he was making more money. And, see, that's just why I find it odd. The police says, well, they have no reason to suspect foul play, but the family members, they ain't seen or heard from him. And he never went back to work and all that. So, to me, that's a red flag that there's definitely...
It just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's missing, obviously.
Yeah. And as in case 14, on February 14th, 1984, 24-year-old Marcy Jo Andrews went missing from Chicago, Illinois. Marcy Jo Andrews and two other women went to Casey Nowicki's apartment to party in Chicago. Andrews met Nowicki for the first time on that day. Do you think Andrews thought she was safe because of the other two females?
Yeah. She wasn't alone. She was with two other females.
Okay. And Nowicki was driving the girls home when they were involved in an accident in which Andrews' ankle was injured. Do you find it odd that no one mentions how bad the ankle injury was?
Yeah.
And Nowicki said he would take Andrews to the hospital if the other two women would get the car towed. Why would Andrews go with Nowicki when she had just met him just hours before?
That raises a red flag because he wants the other two women to just get the car towed and he wants to just take her alone. I don't understand why you would trust somebody that you just met a few hours ago to take you somewhere.
Okay, instead of taking her to the hospital, why did Nowicki take her back to his apartment where he drugged and sexually assaulted her and ended up killing her? Now, you have two other females with you. He was involved in a car accident. He claims he's going to take her to a hospital. And then he takes her back to the apartment, does all this, and she's missing. Now, wouldn't you think that Nowicki would be taking a big chance because the other two females has all this information?
Could it be the other two females are in on it?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. And, well...
Who are these women? Does she work with them? Are they friends of hers?
Well, yeah, they knew each other. And see, that's another thing. I've done research on this
That's
case.
why I always said I had more friends that were men than women. You can't trust bitches. They turn on you.
Okay. And a friend, because I'm going to skip a couple questions because we already covered it. A friend of Nowicki's, which he called to help dump Andrew's body, testified that he saw Andrew's body rolled in a carpet. Why do you think the friend didn't turn in Nowicki that night that it happened?
I don't know. Why would you wait?
Yeah. Okay.
Wait. He helped this guy.
Right.
Dump the body.
Right. Yeah. Well, see,
he wouldn't call that night. He probably thought it over and said, "Oh, I got to call the police." Yeah. I mean, you're involved.
Yeah.
You're helping the guy.
And it says Nowicki was convicted of her homicide in July of 2005 without Andrew's body. Do you find it odd there is no mention of the two females that were there once with Nowicki and Andrews about testifying in court? Their names have never been released to the public. Do you find that? Okay.
The whole thing is weird.
Okay.
The whole thing with the girls.
Now here's where we go, where my connection comes in. One of the targeted search areas, which has been searched 7 times, and I've been involved in 2 of those searches, for the 24-year-old Andrews in a northern Indiana county where Nowicki's family owned an old farmhouse. So why do you think her body has never been found?
Because she's still in Chicago.
Okay. And as in case 15, on October 5th, 1996, 34-year-old Kenneth William Harker vanished from Sioux City, Iowa. 34-year-old Harker, after an auto accident several years earlier, left him disabled. Do you think that's why someone thought he would be an easy target?
Yeah. Yes, definitely, unfortunately.
And when police discovered Harker's vehicle, its doors were open, the tires were flat, and it was out of gas. Do you think Harker left his vehicle like this, or do you believe someone else did it?
I think somebody else did it. I think they took him and used his vehicle, and it ran out of gas, and they just left it.
And nothing was missing from Harker's home. He left his dog at the house, which hadn't been fed in 4 or 5 days, and he left behind his medication. Does that sound like a simple walk-off to you?
No, people don't leave their pets. They don't leave their pets, and they if he needs medicine, he's going to take medicine.
Okay.
You know, he's not going to forget his medicine. Somebody took him.
Now, see, on this report, it says on the last page, it says foul play is suspected.
Right.
So, see, once again, you have some police agencies, they won't even come out and say that, and then you have some that says, yeah, hey, foul play is involved here, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as in case 16, on April 12, 1981, Naomi Wilson vanished from her Cedar Rapids, Iowa home. The 32-year-old Wilson was last seen at her home, and Naomi usually attended church, but she didn't on that day. At the time, do you believe harm already came to Naomi Wilson?
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of cornfields in Iowa, right?
Yeah.
I remember a case not too long ago. A young girl, she disappeared in Iowa, and they found her in the cornfields. She was jogging. She went jogging. Molly Tibbetts was her name.
Okay.
She went jogging, and somebody that worked on the cornfields killed her.
Okay, the 32-year-old Wilson's boyfriend of 3 years claimed he attended noon services and returned to Naomi's home during the mid-afternoon, where he and Naomi left within minutes of each other about 4 p.m. Do you believe the boyfriend's story?
No, it don't make nothing's making sense here.
Okay.
No.
And Naomi was to get gasoline for her car and to visit a woman co-worker, but Wilson never showed up. So we have a small window. What do you think happened to the 32-year-old Wilson?
I think the boyfriend did something to her.
Okay, it states the boyfriend reported when she didn't come home that night. He searched for her until 3 a.m. and searched for her the following day with some of her friends. Why do you think the boyfriend didn't call the police for help?
Cover up.
And Naomi Wilson's car was found on Tuesday, April 14th, 1981, in a Kmart parking lot. Doesn't that MO sound like you have heard it before, the victim's car being found in a parking lot?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I have several cases where the victim's car was found at the Walmart parking lot, Kmart parking lot, the Kroger's parking lot. And yeah, I just find it kind of odd. Matter of fact, me and my partner Andy, we tried to do a pattern on it to see if they happened to be related. And the only common factor we came up with, that their car was dumped in the parking lot, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we couldn't even piece nothing together on that. And friends and family did not feel the 32-year-old Naomi Wilson would have walked away from her life that she had worked so hard for, so foul play is suspected. Olivia, are any of these 16 cases we profiled, did any one of them catch your curiosity?
They're all different in many ways. I mean, there's disappearances. I think the one that most intrigues me is the real estate guy in Chicago. That's kind of puzzling. It's like he just walked away from his life, but he has a business and everything. That
Right.
one I'm curious about. The others, they're typical Southern cases where everybody knows everybody, you know, the ones in the mountains in Colorado or whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that the ones with the churches?
Yeah, there's, one
Yeah, I think
sounds-
that's church-related, but his, I don't know, his is kind of curious to me, very
Okay.
curious. I'd like to know what happened there. Because if he has a business, you know, you don't just walk away from that. And there's no trace of him, nothing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it just, that was kind of curious to me.
Oh, well, from my understanding of everything I read about it, he was an upcoming millionaire in his real estate.
That's what I mean. I mean, you know, and in that area, because Chicago has bad areas, you know, it's got good areas, it's got bad areas. But to work yourself up to having a business like that, you know, that's something. That's an achievement.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's very interesting.
Okay. I have a quote for you all. Life has 2 rules. Rule number 1, never quit. Rule number 2, Always remember rule number 1. Author unknown. I want to thank our co-host, Olivia, for being on the show tonight. I want to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in, for y'all have been so kind. Always remember, folks, if you ever get bored with nothing to do, well, take a walk deep into the woods. You might be surprised at what you might find. That's the end of our MJ podcast, this series, Deep into the Woods, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. This has been episode 20, part 2, 16 missing person cases. My name is Mark. I was your host for tonight's show. Joining me was our co-host, Olivia. And we say to all of you, good night from Plattsburgh, New York.
Floating ghost light through the atmosphere, like spirit vines crawling deep through the underskin. Things will change like they always wanna be alive, and people fade. Becoming a ghost in the afterlife. Cold in the clouds, won't you leave here and on around? Float from the ground, out of the body and leave it all we found. Making a sound.